Hey there, this is Franklin, and you're listening to Who Asked Us? Deep thoughts, lighthearted conversations. Here, you'll listen along as we discuss our way through the Bible with a growing, rotating panel of guests, none of which claim to be experts on any of this. A note about today's episode, Ken and I recorded this on the same day as our last, and we start with a continuation of our conversation regarding faith and works. If you want to jump ahead to the Bible reading, check the timestamp in the description. And as always, we hope you get just as much out of these conversations as we did having them. Thanks for listening.
So like I was saying, you're completely wrong.
Picking up where we left off?
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. I think the biggest thing... Well, let me ask you your opinion on this, because this is what I was thinking about while I was eating lunch in between. So... I think I was turning around going, hey, based on what it sounds like Paul's saying there, I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if that makes sense. You know what I mean? I think the first thing we have to kind of start with is like, hey, is everything in the part of the Bible, like, so for example, like the Gospels are the Gospels. The Gospels are a retelling. Some I think are a little more like story-esque, and some are like, this is what happened. This is a biography type situation. But they're a retelling of what Jesus' life was. Yeah. From my understanding, it's really not much like, here's my opinion, here's what I think, in terms of the writers. Yeah. A lot of the rest of the New Testament is like a letter from this church father to this person, and etc. It's mostly letters, isn't it?
Yeah, it's mostly just letters.
So are we to look at that? And obviously, yes, we are trying to interpret it honestly, right? But are we to look at it as like, hey, these people are infallible about what, in terms of like their opinions and what they're saying and such, because they've been determined to be part of the biblical canon?
It depends on what is being said. I mean, they could say a sentence and then immediately validate that sentence because they're making another point.
So it sounds like you're saying, no, it is possible that they could, I don't want to say be wrong. I'm not trying to make it that hard, but like that it could not be. For example, I think the Old Testament in general is really clear so far, just in Genesis. And I've heard more of it, but it's pretty clear. The only time it gets fuzzy is when we start to make connections that aren't, you know what I mean? When we start to really
We're making big jumps, and yeah.
Yes.
I would say...
and even just like in general. But like here, I'm going, hey, the way Paul said that, how does that make sense? Like, so that's why I'm looking at it as like, maybe he said it poorly, or maybe, you know, not that I'm saying Paul is wrong.
I mean, I would say ultimately to that, I think one, I would just tend to believe what he says. But that means that I understand what he's saying. And I think that's fair. A huge piece of it. And then you're putting it in the context of what he's saying, which is another huge piece of it. Because even like Peter, and I think in 1st or 2nd Peter says, many people maybe people get confused on what Paul is talking about, right? So if Peter has to say that in the Bible, right, about Paul, then it means that
it's worth noting.
That like some people are not ready to really understand, or can understand, or maybe it's just not clear, or they're getting the wrong impression, or getting the wrong understanding to certain things.
That's a good point. Even Nate said that before when we were finishing up. He was like, I think that letter was to the Pharisees.
It was.
So like that is a fair point.
The letter wasn't to the Pharisees, but the point was, right? Because the point is, and it's important to get to like, so when Paul said that, I don't know, maybe for just to read it again, so I'm not speaking wrongly.
Sure.
Was it Galatians, right? Yeah, it was Galatians. He said, for free, so he's talking to people in Galatia. And he says, for freedom, Christ has set us free. Stand firm, therefore, and do not submit again to a yoke of slavery. Look, I, Paul, say to you. So sometimes he does that too. Where he says,
he kind of puts himself up there a little bit.
Yeah, like sometimes he would say, I say this. Or other times he would say, well, God says this, right? Like, the one part where he makes it clear when someone asks him about like, there were these women who were talking in the church or whatever, and he's like, listen, I don't even let women preach in the church, right? But he just says, I don't do that, right? which is...
Well, that's a fair point. Because what if you could take that as, I say this, I, Paul, say this. Or you could say, hey, listen, this is my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, it could kind of be either or. He's like, hey, this is how I've understood it, so I'm going to share that. Because with all, I always look at it as, you should argue as if you're right, but also understanding that that's your interpretation of the thing.
Yeah.
Like, you're not infallible. And maybe he understands that. Maybe that's how he's saying it. That's why he's distinguishing, I, Paul, believe this.
Yeah, exactly. So he says, look, I, Paul, say to you that if you accept circumcision, Christ will be of no advantage to you. I testify again to every man who accepts circumcision that he is obligated to keep the whole law. Right? So from what I'm hearing when he says that, I guess he's talking to there's that context here. He's clearly talking to people who are saying you need to be circumcised in order to be a Christian, in order to do whatever. And he's saying like, if you're going this circumcision route, what Christ is not going to be beneficial. Like there's no, because you're going based off of this, keep the law of Moses, keep the circumcision. If you're doing that, what's the point of even being Christian? If you're going to hold people to that standard of trying to do that.
I don't know if he's exactly saying that. Because actually, even now that you're rereading it, right? He's saying, if you're holding this, Christ will be of no advantage to you. What does that mean, right? Like, I almost wish he said, if you are only holding this, Christ will be of no advantage to you. Or he's saying, hey, whether or not you hold this, that does not make you more or less worthy.
Well, I think it's because...
I'm basically saying, like, the advantage is Christ, not the law. And I would agree with that.
Well, he's saying that because in verse 4, he says, you are severed from Christ, you who would be justified by the law. So and I think that's the problem. Like, if you're saying...
Read that one again. I'm sorry. Hold on. Read that one again.
Verse 4. And you should look at it yourself, too, so you can get... If you're not already, Galatians chapter 5. I mean, don't just listen to me.
No, I'm going to do it.
Because when you see it yourself, you'll because there's always something different in understanding when you're reading than listening to somebody else.
You said it's Galatians
chapter 5.
Galatians 5.
Yeah, I'll let you read.
What verse you on?
1 through 6. Just read 1 through 6. I want you to read that because maybe you'll understand something different from me.
Okay. For freedom, Christ has set us free. There's no comma there. Is there a comma there for you?
Mm-mm.
Okay. It seemed like before you were like, for freedom, Christ has set us free.
I'm just taking my breath when I talk.
No, but like I feel like what is it? I'd put a comma there. For freedom, for this thing, Christ has set us free. Stand fast, therefore, and do not submit again to a yoke of slavery. Now I, Paul, say you that if you receive circumcision, Christ will be of no advantage to you. Which, real quick pause, I would agree with that in that, hey, just because you're circumcised doesn't mean Christ is an advantage to you. It's the believing in Christ that's the advantage part. So, like, so far, I agree, if that makes sense. I testify again to every man who receives circumcision that he is bound to keep the whole law. Pause. I would agree with that too. In terms of, if you're going to say, hey, you need to be circumcised, cool, what about the rest of the law that goes along with it? And I'm assuming, having not gotten there yet, in the Bible, that it sounds like you being circumcised has other implications of expectations that come along with you. So fine, if that's true, then that is more than fair. You can't just, it's like, hey, you have, whatever. I'm not going to give a metaphor for it. I think it makes sense. You are served from Christ, you who would be justified by the law. You have fallen away from grace. That's where he loses me.
Mm-hmm. Well, why does he lose you there?
Well, so here's the thing. You are severed from Christ, you who be justified by the law. If you can be justified by the law, I'm not saying that's what gets you saved by Christ. I don't think it has anything to do with whether or not you're saved by Christ. Whereas he's saying, if you're justified by the law, then you will not. Then you are not. You're severed from Christ.
Well, you said you were severed from Christ, you who would be justified by the law. Semicolon. So basically, a person who would be justified by law is severed from Christ, meaning that you're...
Why?
Because Christ is not about justification through the law. So it's contradictory, right? You can't... If you're operating under I want to be justified by the things that I can do, by how good I can be following this law, you're not... That's anti-Christian. Like, it has nothing to do with Christianity. That means Jesus means nothing to you. Because if you just meant something to you, the law is
Mhm.
not about justification at all.
No, but what if the law instead is like so for example, I don't know all these laws, right? But I'm assuming if you follow all the laws, there's nothing in there that's going to make you a bad Christian. If you're putting you following the
Oh,
laws
okay.
above the grace of God, the grace
Mm-hmm.
of being saved by Jesus Christ, and you know what I mean? It's like that's a false idol. Like that you're putting the wrong thing on top. Like, but if you're following the laws because you're going, this is how. So, for example, we were talking about Lent last episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no requirement to give anything up for Lent.
Mm-hmm.
That is like a tradition more type thing, you know,
Mm-hmm.
or at least my understanding. But you said, and I agree with you, if I'm going to turn around, even though I'm not required to do this, if I'm going to go, hey, God, for the next 40 days, I'm going to, whatever, you know, give up X.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is
Then,
that's not you
go ahead.
following a law. You see what I'm saying?
Well, so sure, but I guess what I'm saying is like, is this thing that I'm doing, I'm setting a law for myself.
Don't do that. That's the whole point.
Well, hold on a second. But that is Lent, right? I'm setting a law for myself. And it's like, you didn't have to do that.
Well,
but if you're going to do that, hold on a second. But if you're going to do that, then like, you should be wholeheartedly trying to do it.
I don't think you're setting a law for yourself when you're doing, like, that's just you doing something. So if I...
Well, I'm setting a limitation of
Yeah,
of
you
my
can set a
actions.
limitation, but a law is not...
What is a law?
Law is not a mere limitation. A law is basically a contract. It's saying you do this on pain of this, right? And if I say, I'm going to fast for a week, it's not a law.
Yes.
It's like if I don't fast after, like, then what? Like if there's nothing, you know what I'm saying? Like that's not a law. That's just like I want to dedicate my life in this sort of way, right? Which is different from a
that's
law,
what I'm saying.
which has punishment and has authority.
Sure.
It has a certain type of legal structure to it, which
So,
you're
like,
held
let's say-
culpable to.
Yeah, so let's say like if somebody's living by, so I understand if like society is like, hey, we're not gonna, or Christianity is like, I'm not gonna hold you accountable to this Mosaic law anymore.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
and you can make the argument that like society shouldn't have to either,
Mhm.
right? But if I'm living my life going, hey, I'm gonna follow those rules anyway, I'm gonna put those restrictions on myself, XYZ, then what's it called? Why should it disqualify me? Why should that sever me from Christ?
Well, if you're doing it
going-
as a law, then it would disqualify you from Christ because now you're trying to justify yourself outside of Christ.
How are you defining law here?
A law is the contract, which
I think this conversation is like a fun one, but I don't think our listeners care about it this deep.
Cool.
All right, so we doing Genesis 18?
Let's get into Genesis 18, which I think is a great one.
That's interesting because it ended before I thought it would.
Yeah, it ends right before it gets really juicy, so I think it's fine. I do like it, actually. You can read this.
Can I read first? I didn't get to read last time.
You didn't.
I didn't. I got to reread something somebody else read. I want to prove to everybody that I can actually read. All right, so
This is Genesis 18. Let's do it.
Genesis 18. And the Lord appeared to him by the oaks of Mamre, and he sat at the door of his tent, and in the heat of the day, he lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, 3 men stood in front of him. When he saw them, he ran from the tent door to meet them, and bowed himself to the earth, and said, My Lord, if I have found favor in your sight, do not pass by your servant. Let a little water be brought, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree, while I fetch a morsel of bread, that you may refresh yourselves, and after that you may pass on, since you have come to your servant. So they said, Do as you have said. And Abraham hastened into the tent of Sarah, and said, Make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes. And Abraham read to the herd, and took a calf, tender and good, and gave it to the servant, who hastened to prepare it. Then he took curds and milk, and the calf which he had prepared, and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree while they ate. Couple things. And I think since it's just the 2 of us today, Ken, like, we can get a little, there's a couple of things that popped into my head that have just been like in the periphery of like my social media, YouTube algorithm that I think like,
gotcha.
would be interesting. So the Oaks of Mamre, they were mentioned before. Is this just mentioned as like the place that he settled at the end, like after he got out of Egypt?
Yeah,
or
it was mentioned before, and I'm trying to see
I didn't go back and look.
significance to it. This was Genesis 13. So Abraham pitched his tent, and when he came and settled at the oaks of Mamre, there he built an altar to Yahweh. So I mean, he builds an altar to God. I think when he first gets into when is this?
But then he leaves and comes back, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I just thought it was just stuck out.
Got it. Okay.
I wonder where that is. Does any idea where that is?
13 verse 18?
No, the Oaks of Mamre.
Oh, I mean like physical location of where it is. I'm not sure actually. Let me look that up in the meantime.
I was gonna say, can we Google it? Let's see. Yeah, because it's interesting. I'm on my phone for this one, but on my iPad when I use the faith study side of it, it like every time it mentions like the altar to the Lord and the Oaks of Mamre, it just gives a diagram of all the different types of altars that have been built.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that doesn't tell me anything.
Currently it's at a place called Holy Trinity Monastery. Is what is built there right now. Currently today.
I assume it's not oaks because that part of the world, I don't think they have oaks. It says
no, there was a
terebinths.
Oak of Mamre. The site of the oak was acquired in 1868 by the Russian Orthodox Church. Long-standing traditions that the Oak of Abraham will die before the appearance of the Antichrist.
What did you just say?
There's a tradition, but this is so weird. All right, I'm not gonna get. Oh, maybe we can.
No, say it. I heard.
So I'm just on Wikipedia, right? Oh, sir.
Which I will argue is a fine source. I'm those people who are like you can't find answers on Wikipedia. I don't know. This day and age. Look at all the citations at the bottom.
I know, right? So from the beginning, the Oak of Mamre is a site venerated by some as the Oak of Abraham. It is distinct from the more ancient site of Mamre. Okay, there's two different Mamres. It owes its name to an ancient tree, which seems to be dead but has a young sprig growing next to it, and stands on the grounds of the modern Russian Orthodox Church of Holy Forefathers and Monastery of the Holy Trinity. It's a long name. It's a monastery. It's there right now. Okay. The old tree fell in 2019. Ooh, recent.
Whoa!
But there are plans to preserve its trunk and sustain the growth of a young shoot, right? Wait.
Does it say how old the tree was?
As I'm trying to say, it just says
how many rings are on that tree.
Oh man, why is the article in Russian? I'm gonna ask ChatGPT to
no, read it in Russian.
To translate.
One of our listeners, please translate what Ken is about to read.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that big.
It's saying an ancient tree known as the oak of, this is it translated now, and also translated and then truncated. I'm not paraphrased, but an ancient tree known as the Oak of Abraham, which is Oak of Mamre, a tree believed to be around 5,000 years old.
Wow.
Fell in 2019. Why this matters? According to a local pilgrim, the death or collapse of the tree is one of the signs of the end of the world. The oak, also called the Mamre oak, had previously been declared dead back in 1996, though it remained standing. The oak, which also called the Mamre oak, had been previously declared dead back in 1996, though it remained standing. But now it officially, as of 2019, it officially fell.
Yeah, look at that's crazy. First of all, that that's over 20 years later did the tree fall? It's been sitting dead for that long.
Yeah,
but even like some of these pictures, it's like being held up by like people are like, this tree can't fall.
Yeah, look at it.
Like it's crazy to think like, so if a tree goes to fall and you stop it, and when it falls, it's the end of the world. Did it still fall? I feel like it's still
I know, right? So like,
you know what I mean? Like just because you picked it up with
it's like
some
collapsing. It's like falling apart.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Now 5,000 years, if that's how old it is, that's not far enough to be Abraham time, right?
I mean, if you think the world is only 6,000 years old, then yeah.
Yeah, but I don't.
But for Abraham, so I mean, if you think about it, okay, so 5,000 years from now, that's 3,000 years BC, right? And we're around what time? And I mean, Israel isn't that old. You have,
I don't know. I'm asking you.
Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. So 3 generations, and then another 400 years in Egypt. Then after they're in Egypt, they go into Canaan for a certain period of time. I don't know. But you have, I guess we have to figure out what time the Babylonian Empire existed, right? the Babylonian Empire, Persian Empire, Roman Empire, right? In that order.
I'm just going to Google how long ago was Exodus. Exodus is traditionally believed to have occurred roughly 3,300 to 3,500 years ago.
Years ago?
Yeah. So like, and that was, you said, so like 3 generations plus 4. So let's say a generation's 100 years, just for fun, plus 400 more years. So that's 700 years. So that means Abraham would only be like 4,000 years ago.
The Exodus was only, it's about 1500 BC. So it would be 3,000 to 4,000 years ago, right? Yeah.
So let's say like, so like technically if it's a 5,000-year-old tree, which is nuts. Are there any other trees that old? That's crazy.
This tree's older, right? A lot of the some of the trees in California are they like
the redwoods?
No, I think they're only like 2,000 years old.
Redwoods.
They're huge. They're amazing.
You've been?
Yeah, I've been.
Yeah,
I went
with
Max.
You looked at the van.
Went with the van. It was beautiful. So this old tree is no longer with us.
So where is it on a map?
Oh, that's what I want to say. Where was it on the map?
Share your screen. Let me see on the map. I'll describe it to our listeners.
That was actually on a different screen. Let me pull it up here.
So let it be known to our listener that Ken has 2 screens. He just shifted his view. His eyes are close to the camera now, and they are beautiful.
2 screens. Actually, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Right now?
6 screens. Yes, I do.
Why?
Well, because I have 3 laptops. 2 of my laptops have dual screens, and then I have a monitor. But this is insane
because. So that's set up for work, right?
Yes.
I know where you're sitting right now. I've been to your house. That is your dining room table.
No, I'm not in my dining room. I'm in my office.
No, you're not. Unblur your background.
Well, I am.
I'm just kidding.
What?
That looks like
even be in the podcast.
You're right. You have different pictures behind you in your.
Yeah, I do. Okay, so let me share my screen. I'm just gonna try to get the same article up.
I promise I'll describe it with great detail. This is worthwhile to our listeners.
Just gonna see.
What a great episode this is. We're one.
Oh my
God. We're in 18 verse 1. Can't you just look it up on Google Maps?
I know, but Google Maps brought me to some shop, like some guy's shop, which is not what Wikipedia was telling me.
People walk into that shop and go, "Hey,
let me share.
That's not what I'm here for."
And then took me some random rebel. Let me just go back a little bit.
Currently, he's scrolling on Google, orthodoxwiki.com. Like the maps.com right below it said Oak of Mamre, parentheses, notable tree.
The West Bank. Yeah.
It's by the West Bank.
Maybe. It's the West Bank, yeah.
So then here's my question.
Mm-hmm.
Is Abraham already in the land of Canaan?
Yeah, he was chilling right there.
Oh.
Remember he went down to Egypt. And then
That's Egypt right there?
Yeah, this is Egypt.
It's Cairo.
Egypt's right
it's not that far.
He went down to Egypt, and then he left Egypt, and he's just chilling here. And the last time, God says, okay, you're going to die here of old age peacefully, but your children are going to be scattered, but they'll come back and rule this land, right? So right now, he's just chilling here in, this was called Canaan at the time. Yeah.
So where are the Canaanites now? Are they living amongst
Abraham they're all over. They're just around him. They're surrounding him. But he just pitches instead, basically in like the wild areas, the unincorporated. Because
so he's not. It's not like a contested type thing.
No, because remember back in those days, they just have their city and their city walls, and everything outside of it was just not the city.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. So he's just chilling in this land, just chilling by himself with his wealth.
That's crazy.
All right. So
back to the text.
Oaks of Mamre. This is where he's chilling by his Mamre oak. Apparently,
that is crazy.
Just officially, it died in. Well, so it said it. When did it say it died? It fell in 2019, but it died.
It said 1996 is when it died.
Yeah, it died in 1996.
Which it is. Even the fact that we can see pictures of it, it is kind of. It's one thing to go like, oh, I've seen like if you go to Philadelphia, you could see the original Capitol, and that's where they drafted the Constitution and whatever, blah blah. That's cool, but to be like, this is the same tree maybe that Abraham saw, even though I just saw it in a picture, that's still pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's wild.
The long-standing tradition is that that tree was going to die before the appearance of the Antichrist. Well, officially died in 1996. And
I wonder.
I don't really know how important of a tradition that even is.
Well, I'm also curious because like where'd that come from? Because one of the things that it's funny that Paul keeps coming up because there's some people who say that Paul is the Antichrist. Which I don't personally believe. But it's a conversation to have if that's what some people think. Why not talk about it? But it's interesting because okay, well that already contradicts that because this died way after.
Now I don't know where this tradition came from about the Oak of Memory being tied to dying before the Antichrist. I think it probably made more sense before it died because it has more weight. Now that it's dead, it just means the Antichrist can come anytime
at any point,
which was always true. So I don't know. Interesting.
Want to know what else is crazy? Verse 2, going to take just as much time to get through. He lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, 3 men stood in front of him. This is the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit?
No, it's just probably like angels and God, right? But this is why I keep on saying every time God kind of appears to Abraham, there is something that happens because it's like in the last chapter, right? When the Lord appeared to him and he says, "I am the Lord Almighty, walk before me and, be blameless." You need that level of introduction so you know what's going on and who you're dealing with. Because I think at this point, God is just showing up in his manifested form with angels, his messengers, right?
Well, I don't know if it's angels. Well, I don't know if I agree because every time that the Lord responds, it says, "So they said." It's just notable to put that out there.
Not every time. No.
Is it not every time in this section?
Well, in this section, it's only one time then, huh?
Well, that's what I was going to say. So, in this moment, this is the first time it said, it doesn't distinguish that the other two are not the Lord.
Right now, it's just 3 people, and Abraham calls him Adonai.
What does Adonai mean?
Adonai just means Lord. It's not like, it's not in all caps, Lord.
Yes.
Yeah. So when it's lowercase, it just means Adonai, which means Lord. It's just
which means what then? What does Lord mean?
Oh, it kind of just means Lord, like a Lord, Lord Jimmy John,
like somebody above.
Yeah, it's like the common term of Lord.
But hold on. So my Lord, lowercase L, if I have found favor in your sight, do not pass by your servant. Would you address an angel like that?
I don't think he thinks it's an angel. And that's why he acts the way he does. When he sees them, he ran from the tent door to meet them and bowed himself to the earth. Right? I think he, after having a certain number of encounters with God in this way, is like, okay, I think something's up. Right? This is not just some random people coming to visit me. Right? They're probably something peculiar about them that is pretty interesting, and he at this point would pick up
that's
on
fair.
It.
But so do you think one of them is God in a more palpable form, because we know that it can't be the greatness of God right in front of you in that way? Or do you think all 3
I think one
are
of
some
them,
type of angel?
I think one of them is God, just because of what happens later on in this chapter
when they talk. Yes.
Yeah. So that's what
I don't know. I don't know if I'm that lowercase L kind of throws me off because even it's in quotes, and it's weird that he would address them as a lowercase L Lord, even if one of them were God.
And maybe all 3 of them are just representations. It could be like the angel of the Lord type of thing, where it's not actually God, but they, for all intensive purposes, because of what they represent God's working in.
But that's what I'm saying. Is is it when I say so? Well, let me put it this way: with God, when God comes in this form of the angel of the Lord, which I do think is an interesting conversation about that being the pre-incarnate Jesus, right? I think it's an interesting conversation. I don't think we know either way, but definitely interesting. That is still God coming as God, but not in the form in which we cannot take. Not where it's almost like looking at the sun, right? It's like he's putting sunglasses on you so you can look at him. But you can always see him through sunglasses. So he's coming in a different form. I don't know. I find it interesting.
Yeah.
That it's 3.
I find it interesting that it's 3, but I don't think it's that interesting.
Oh, I think it's interesting.
Everything in the Bible is interesting, huh?
That's fair.
So when he sees to meet them, he runs from tents. We read that part already, right? Or no, we didn't. Did we?
Well, we didn't reread it again. So he goes. We read the whole paragraph. And he goes, hey, what did I thought interesting? Like, let me bring you water and food, and but you should wash your feet. Which I think it says, like, let a little water be brought and wash your feet, like saying, hey, rest, wash up, like find refuge here.
It's more like, yeah, let's chill out, relax. I know you probably have dust on your feet on the road. Just
yes. It just kind of pops.
Let
in
me
my
give
head
you some
the idea
hospitality.
of, like, yes. But already, of course, it pops in my head the idea of, like, washing feet. That's going to come back later, where it's going to be like, where God is going to wash somebody's feet.
Yes, it's
than,
like,
hey, go
well,
wash your feet.
That's a great point. Like, Abraham's like, let me serve you, and then later on, God flips that on its head, where Jesus is like, let me serve you guys. So.
Yeah.
So
get bread.
Yeah, they do that, and he says. So he's basically stopping them on the way, but not really. Well, no, wait, because I don't think they were necessarily going directly to him.
No, I don't think so either. I think it's like, from what it sounded like, is
he said, "Don't pass by." Yeah.
Well, this is gonna sound silly. Like, they're traveling. I don't think, like, why would God in any form or the angels be like, all right, I'm gonna come down here and then start walking all the way to Sodom?
Well, that's why I think they're just angels, right? Representations, because God doesn't need to travel anyway. God is spirit.
Yeah, but the angels, why would they come down and then walk? Why wouldn't they?
They want to see.
Just go straight there.
They want to see everything. Angels aren't like God. Or they just go straight where? Maybe they want to see. Maybe they want to survey the area around.
Oh, I thought angels would be. If God was like, go there, they'd be like, I will go straight there.
Maybe they would. Maybe that's what they're doing. Who knows where they were before they
But either
going.
way, my point is, it sounds silly to say.
I mean, it's not like
they didn't just stop because they were like, oh, we're going to go walk over here. Let's go stop by Abraham's house.
Well, I don't know. And this is another point, too. How do angels manifest themselves in corporal bodies? Maybe they have to do it somewhere, and then they have to travel. Maybe they couldn't just manifest themselves inside of Sodom.
I don't know, but either way, the fact that they're stopping, like, there's a conversation that's going to happen here. You know what I mean? Like, and it's a conversation that's meant to happen and worth having. So it's not like they were like, let's just go say hi to Abraham, and oh my gosh, we happen to get into a deep conversation. It's like, all right, we need to go have a conversation with Abraham about this thing. And I keep coming back to this, and I'm not to spoil, but the conversation I'll hold it for when we talk about the conversation. I don't want to jump around too much. But he gives them some nice stuff. Yeah. And they eat and they hang out under the tree that we saw a picture of.
He's mad excited. He runs to Sarah, telling Sarah to make some cakes. Runs to his servant. Well, takes a calf, gives it to his servant. It's like, all right, make this meat. Lamb. Oh, it's a calf. It's a calf. So
can you imagine you come over my house? I go, oh man, you must be starving. I'm going to go kill the cow now.
Yeah, fresh milk.
We're not eating for hours.
And you can go bake a cake. Like,
I'd be like, you gotta be kidding me. I gotta go.
He's like, no, don't go. Wash your feet, chill out, watch the show, Yeah. Let me give you get someone to give you a back massage, What is that happening? Takes curds and milk.
Exactly. Yeah. Makes a wheel of cheese, waits a couple weeks,
Oh my God.
What's it called? It's so funny. This happened, too, just pops in my head. This also must have happened within the year because there's no kid yet.
Yes, it's within I think it's, yeah. So.
Yeah, there's no kid yet.
There's no kid yet. So verse 9 is like, I don't think there's anything else to say here, right? They prepared it quickly. And they said to him.
Yeah, sure they did.
Where is Sarah, your wife? And he said, she's in the tent. The Lord said, I will surely return to you about this time next year. And Sarah, your wife, I like he emphasizes your wife, not like Hagar, your servant girl. But he's Sarah, your wife, shall have a son. And Sarah was listening at the tent door behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, advanced in years. The way of woman had ceased to be with Sarah. A nice way of saying she's well past menopause.
Oh, yeah.
So Sarah laughed to herself, saying, after I am worn out and my Lord is old, shall I have pleasure? The Lord said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh and say, shall I indeed bear a child now that I am old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the appointed time, I will return to you. about this time next year, and Sarah shall have a son. But Sarah denied it, saying, I didn't laugh, for she was afraid. He said, no, but she did laugh.
Interesting. When you say, after I've grown old and my Lord is old, or something like that, it's Lord with the lowercase L?
Lowercase
She's
L.
referring to Abraham?
She's talking to her
because in mine it
husband.
says husband, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I get the idea of them, like, every time I thought of them laughing, even in the last chapter, I think of it more of like I'd given up on this, and I'm so happy that it might actually be a thing that it's making me laugh with joy. And I had that from last chapter, but now, and it's interesting that it's happening again.
Yeah.
And
I think God doesn't find the joke funny, I guess, at this point.
Well, that's the thing, is like, if she was laughing from joy, I think God has the wherewithal to understand, like, she should rejoice, you know what I mean? Like, this is great. But obviously it's like, she's laughing like, almost like scoffing. Like, sure, I'm so old. Like, there's no way I'm having a kid. I don't believe you. And once she's called out on it, out of fear, she lies.
Yeah.
Which I'm not going to say I don't understand. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, if I were talking to the Lord.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy. And God just like, is like, no, he says it like multiple times. This time next year, you'll have your daughter. I mean, you'll have your child. Your wife will have a son. Oh, it's a daughter. And Abraham's like, Sarah's laughing as I'm old. He's like, well, why are you laughing? Interesting. Yeah, he's taking it serious. Even at the end when she jokes, oh, I didn't laugh. He's like, no, but you did. Like, it just ends the sentence right there. Like,
and that, it's interesting. I do think there were times where we overanalyze and we go, what is this trying to tell me? And it's like, it's just trying to tell you what happened. But so I look at it as, okay, so why was this spot included in this conversation, right? And I think it's just like a reminder, like, even these people who are being held in high regard by the people reading this, right? Abraham and Sarah, even they had moments of weakness in their faith in the Lord, and as much as it's like, hey, no, he's still provided because he is great and can like do the unimaginable. It's also a moment where it goes, and he's not a fan of when you doubt him. You know what I mean? And I think that is something to be noted. It's like, do you believe in this God? Well, then you said this once. The idea of like, I don't think it was on the podcast. It was just an idea of that. Doesn't that seem like crazy? Like, we were talking about maybe it was the creation of the universe or something, and the conversation with like atheists and like basically how they were saying like, well, that would be ridiculous if God did that. And your response was, if the starting premise is that God exists, then nothing is crazy anymore because anything can happen. So even here, it's like, you're going to proclaim that this is, I mean, look at the way that God introduced himself last time as such this high level of an existent spiritual entity. And even still, we have people going, I'm old, I can't have a kid, even if it's by you. And he's like, are you kidding me? Like, this is the God who created.
Well, see, that's key, because you said that, like, in the last chapter, he introduces himself as like, I am God Almighty. Like, he gives a new classifier of who he is as one who can do anything. Almighty.
Anything, Almighty can do all.
I think that's the point of, right? Like, why was this written in? To show, like, I don't think at this point, what does Abraham and Sarah even know about God? Like, what has God done?
I don't know.
I don't think he's done like miracles besides like the stories
besides creation.
But like, okay, I don't know so how much God created the world, but like at that point in time, every deity created the world, right? Like, if they're coming from another culture, thinks there are other people created the world, right?
Sure.
So there's nothing unique, but now God's saying something it's like a miracle to them that is real. Like, someone can say to you, oh, God's real, God's real, God's real. And then, let's say, God forbid, something happens, you lose your arm. And then God says, oh yeah, by this time next year, you'll have your own arm regrow. Right? And at some point you're like, yeah, I know God created the universe, but like, my arm's going to regrow out of nothing. Like, how does that make any sense?
I think it's a mix of that and, right, it's a mix of like, oh, this is going to happen to me.
I really hope you don't lose your arm now, because I feel like it's
I also just hope I don't lose my arm just in general.
Yeah, that'd be terrible.
Please don't put that. Thanks. Now everyone knows. Everyone's waiting for it.
I mean, if you lost your arm before I said that, I wouldn't feel morally culpable.
Well, what's gonna be crazy is next episode's like, so how's everybody doing? I'm like, you'll never guess what happened to me. No, but the idea of so you said, yeah, so they're not doubting God's existence, right? Because yes, you were telling God created the world, but if God came down to interact with you, all of a sudden you'd be like, oh man, like God's real. And I think it's the same way. Whereas, like, let's say I met Jeff Bezos, who's not God. But I meet Jeff Bezos and I'd be like, whoa, this is kind of cool. I'm meeting Jeff Bezos. Like, don't get me wrong. Everyone has their opinions about that guy, but notable guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Balls.
Wow. I met Jeff Bezos. That's crazy. And then Jeff Bezos goes, and listen, next year I'm going to buy you a house. I like you. I'm going to buy you a house.
Like, all right,
brand new mansion. You know what I mean? I can pay for it in cash. There's a part of you that would go, yeah, I know you're here and I know you're rich and I know you know me, but like, you're not going to remember me to buy me a house.
Exactly.
So I think it's that type of doubting. I don't know if it's as much as like, hey, can you do this? But like,
exactly,
this is going to happen to me.
Because they know immediately. That's why when God challenges it, and he doesn't like laugh with them, he challenges it. They kind of like seize up and like, oh, I didn't laugh. Because they believe him. Honestly, they do. But I just don't think they had that relationship with him. To the point
why would I get that?
To the point where they can just think that the impossible is just a normal thing when it comes to God, right?
And also that it's going to happen to them.
Exactly, that he would freely give it to them. So, yeah, I think that's really cool. That's really cool.
I think it's cool too, and that's why like its inclusion I think is important. Is like even these people who are, I mean, I haven't had such a direct conversation with God, and now this is a moment. This might be the first time where he's speaking to Sarah.
Yeah.
Right. So like both of them have had these direct conversations with God, with the Lord, capital L, right?
And I really don't like when God asks rhetorical questions because it's like, what are you going to say?
Well,
is anything
not like that?
Yeah.
So, I guess my point is though is like, so they're having this direct conversation. I have not had this direct conversation. I'm gonna assume, but I don't know. Maybe you have not had a direct conversation with the Lord our God, right? But even we sit there and go like, hey. He's going to provide for me. He's going to X, he's going to Y, he's going to Z because he loves me. And I'm sure there's moments where sometimes you turn around and go like, yeah, maybe I'm not going to get that. Like to imagine, I guess, like, that it would just be, it's not only this great thing that could happen. I don't doubt that the Lord could do it, but he's going to really do it for me?
Yeah.
No way.
And then he says it and you're like, part of you was like,
yes,
you kind of laugh a little bit, like, oh, that's probably not that, because it's hard to imagine. Now? It's not just them imagining something that God's gonna do for them, but it's something that they, from what they understand, which is probably scientifically accurate. She cannot have a child, and she's old.
The time has passed.
Well, she can be old. You've never seen some old lady who's pregnant. Like that just doesn't that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So not only do they have to now believe that God can give them something that makes sense, but now they can believe that God's going to give them something that doesn't make sense. Like, well, how does that even really work? That's why. That's why they laugh about it a little bit. That's why she says, like, "Oh, me in my old age being pregnant. How this doesn't make any sense, right?" There's a little bit of it's a little bit more than just will he do it. It's a little bit more of it is a little bit of in challenging of what he can do, right? Because it breaks that mold of reality that they have. And
it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
So, well, you want to keep digging?
Keep digging.
So then the men set out from there, and they looked towards Sodom, and Abraham went with them. Does it say men for you? I'm just curious.
Yes, it says men.
Interesting. So we know one of them is the Lord.
And the word used is anasim, which is men.
Okay. I'm just curious, because as we keep kind of thinking of like, they're all called Adam, it says?
Well, anasim is a plural. Like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's just, interesting because it is still peculiar to me that there's three, but obviously one of the three is the Lord, capital L. So then the men set out from there and they looked towards Sodom, and Abraham went with them to see them on their way. The Lord said, "Shall I hide from Abraham what I am about to do, seeing that Abraham shall become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall bless themselves by him? No, for I have chosen him, that he may charge his children and his house and his household. Oh God, that he may charge his children and his household after him to keep the way of the Lord by doing righteousness and justice, so that the Lord may bring to Abraham what he has promised him. I'm going to stop there for a second.
Mm-hmm.
So, interesting. So the Lord said, like, Abraham, I could hide from you, but I'm not. I've chosen you, right? I know what you're capable of. What does it say? Shall I hide from Abraham what I'm about to do in terms of like destroying Sodom? It sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
And he's basically saying like, no, I chose you, and no matter what I tell you going forward, I know you, Abraham, and that you're going to, you're going to do what I ask you, and you're going to charge your children to do the same, to uphold the way of the Lord by doing righteousness. So my question is, this kind of goes back to last episode a little bit, is like, so what is by doing righteousness and justice? Keep the way of the Lord by doing righteousness and justice. What does he mean by that? This is last time we talked about righteousness a little bit as well.
I think by doing what is right and doing what is just. I think that's just what he's saying generally. Someone who does the justice and someone who's trying to be right, doing the right thing, is keeping the way of the Lord. So how do you keep the way of the Lord? By doing what is right and being just and not unjust. How
do they know what that is?
I think for them, that's just more conscience based.
You think so?
Yeah.
That's what I would say too. Like, it's just like, I know we've talked a lot about like, hey, can you be held accountable to a rule you haven't been given?
Yeah.
Because I also believe that.
So being held accountable to so the law doesn't make you righteous. I think that's one of the main things, right? The law doesn't make you righteous. The law can only condemn you and says the law only shows how people are bad. It can't make people good. It only tells you what things are wrong, right? That's why you can only do it by breaking it, right? That's your only relationship with the law is break it or not break it, but there's nothing else there. But righteousness and justice, those are things that should come from you internally, and just God gives that to you, and you're supposed to act according to that. So, I mean, that's why later on, God says, he actually says somewhere, I forget where it was, in Isaiah or something. He says like, there's something about the law. He's probably going to do away with it. And he'll write it in our hearts. Like we really shouldn't be trying. We shouldn't have to have a list of do this, not do this in order to operate as human beings. We should just be operating, doing the right thing, because that's just what we're supposed to. That's what we're kind of called to do.
And kind of built to do.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
that like the existence of a conscience is I think Plato was kind of big about this. Like he kind of described it as law, which I'll say is right from wrong, not law in the way that we've been using it. But law, even in the way that we've been using it, is related to what he would call the law with a capital L, right? In the realm of ideas. And a lot of people think that's God. And basically like, hey, yes, man has tried to write law, and it's imperfect because it's through the perspective of man.
Yeah.
But as long as it's done, like it should be done in relation to, like trying to align with the actual law, the actual code of morals, right?
Yeah.
So like I would agree with you in that, like, no, there is right and wrong in the world, in the world, because God created those metrics that exist, and we are somehow connected to it. I originally thought that was more like the Holy Spirit in us, but that's not given to us yet. So I guess like, I don't know maybe that's just like an aspect of.
I think it's just
being
natural
made in God's image.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think.
Yeah. So, just interesting that popped out there.
Knowledge of knowing good and evil is just normal to people.
Well, it wasn't, and then we ate the fruit.
So there's that, and yeah. Now, my question was, who do you think he's talking to? It sounds like he's just talking aloud, but I think he's talking to the other two with him, because he says,
I would have.
Because obviously Abraham's there, but like he's like, shall I tell Abraham this? Right? I think he's kind of saying it a little. He's saying, shall I withhold it from him? No, because of this is who he's gonna be to me. I think he's saying that in the presence, not just for him and Abraham, but for the two with him to understand like what's going on. Just talking to angels.
Yeah, I mean, well, I see what you're saying. Are you trying to reaffirm that they're angels by saying that, or?
Well, I mean, they're. I don't think they're just regular people just chilling.
No, I don't think they're regular people.
That's what I'm saying. I think they're on mission or assignment from God, which is what angel means, right? A messenger of God. Angel is not.
So you think it's God and two angels?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I also think it's just like, I don't know if he's as much telling the angels as if he's not really asking them. Like, even if it was, let's say it's the Holy Trinity before the forms that they would take later, right? I still think it makes sense because they're more just like talking to each other and should I do this? No, I won't. And it's more like, I'm not asking you. I'm saying the question out loud because, I'm saying the question out loud because I want Abraham to hear it. And then I want him to hear that I already know my answer. And it's no, and it's because this. Yeah. So basically saying like, hey, Abraham, I'm going to tell you something a little bit that sounds a little bit ugly, but you've proven that you are faithful and that you are going to do what I've asked of you now and continuously.
Exactly.
And so that's what, and I mean, because if you think about what's about to happen next, and we'll read it in a second, like immediately Abraham goes, he kind of questions God a little bit, kind of interrogates him,
Which is good because I guess spoilers for the next section, but like,
yeah, go ahead. Why don't you read the next section then before, or say it and then read the next section?
Well, did you finish reading?
No, I only went up to yeah.
But like, in the next section, it's gonna like God says this something peculiar about Abraham. He's like I've chosen him so that he may command his. It's like I'm not gonna withhold this from him. I'm gonna say it to him because it's kind of in his prerogative to seek after justice and righteousness. So he sets this up, and then he intentionally is going to say something to Abraham, and Abraham's going to actually respond in a certain way, which I think God likes. But let me continue. So then, the verse 20. Then the Lord said, because the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and their sin is very grave, I will go down to see whether they have done altogether according to the outcry that has come to me. And if not, I will know.
Before you even go past that.
Yeah.
Because the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great. That sounds almost like, especially, the outcry which has come to me. I'm curious, like, is that prayer?
Could be prayer, could be blood. Like, remember when Cain killed Abel?
Oh yeah.
What did God say? He said, like the earth is crying out to me. The blood is spilled. That was crying out to me. Could be those type of things. Remember, God has a different relationship with creation than we do.
Yeah. Their sin is very grave. Yeah, I will go down to see whether they have done altogether according to the outcry. And if not, I'll know. So he's basically saying, like, if this is true or not, I'll be able to know. I'm going to go there and check on them. Which is, do we know what their sin was? I feel like I've heard of stuff, but like it's not said here.
At so far right now, it just seems that there was some sin there. We don't know. It's just sinful. It was something bad. So
keep going.
The men turned from there and went towards Sodom. But Abraham still stood before the Lord. Then Abraham drew near and said, will you indeed sweep away the righteous with the wicked? Suppose there are 50 righteous people within the city. Will you then sweep away the place and not spare it for the 50 righteous who are in it? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to put the righteous to death with the wicked, so that the righteous fare the same as the wicked. Far be that from you. Shouldn't the judge of all the earth do what is just? And the Lord said, if I find at Sodom 50 righteous people in the city, I will spare the whole place for their sake. Abraham answered and said, behold, I have undertaken to speak to the Lord. I who am but dust and ashes. But suppose 5 of the 50 righteous are lacking. Will you destroy the whole city for lack of 5? And he said, I will not destroy it if I find 45 there. And again he spoke to him and said, suppose 40 are found there. He answered, for the sake of 40, I will not do it. Then he said, oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak. Suppose 30 are found there. He answered, I will not do it if I find 30 there. He said, "Behold, I have undertaken to speak to the Lord. Suppose 20 are found there." He answered, "For the sake of 20, I will not destroy it." Then he said, "Oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak again but just once. Suppose 10 are found there." He answered, "For the sake of 10, I will not destroy it." And the Lord went his way when he had finished speaking to Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place.
I have two things.
Two things.
I got two things.
Why'd he stop at 10? You should have just stopped.
Why'd he stop at 10?
Should have kept going. I think he felt. I think he started to feel a little bit like he was pushing his luck there.
That's my other thing, though. So, like, if I was so nervous to criticize the Lord by going like, "Hey, that sounds pretty bad. You'd even sweep away the righteous with the wicked," and he goes, "Nope, I won't do that." Then why would I start at a high number and work my way down?
Because he's negotiating. Like, Abraham is an old man. He's a rich man. He probably done a lot of negotiating in his time with these random Canaanite kings. So he's just thinking like, all right, yeah, but okay, I said 50, but what if 5 of them are not up to par?
That's crazier because the fact that you're like, "Oh, I'm so nervous to talk to you, Lord," but like, I know you said 999, but what about 8? What about 8? That's nuts. Because like that's where I would start. Yeah, that's where I'd start. I'd be like, "Hey, would you do that?" And he goes, "No, I will not wash away the righteous with the wicked." Even if there was just one righteous.
I wish
2
he asked
questions.
that.
Done.
Because what would God have said?
I don't know.
Maybe he'd have been like, "For the sake of 1." Maybe.
But that's what I would assume, right? And I don't know what happens next. I know at some point Sodom and Gomorrah are destroyed. Mm-hmm. I think some people leave there. Mm-hmm. Is that when someone turns to salt? I don't know.
We'll find out.
It's a spoiler. I also hear somebody mentioned something about like the angels who prepared like the attack. I was like, I don't know. I'm very interested in what happens next.
What you'll find generally though is like the story of the flood with Noah. There's a lot less detail in the Bible than there is in people's imaginations. Than what people,
yeah, that's fair.
Which is, I think, it's a poor thing because I know a lot of people who are not friendly to the Bible or Christianity, and one of the reasons are largely for things that just are not in the Bible. It's just things that they were probably told in Sunday school.
That's people's fault. That's not the Bible's fault.
Yeah,
we're just adding stuff.
But I mean, with that said, the vagueness of a lot of the Bibles and the empty room that it leaves because it's not concerned with.
The vagueness.
Yeah.
I thought you said the veganness. I was like, I don't know. That is, some people think that I am not.
I don't know. The vagueness leaves people's interpretation. So people like to embellish a lot. Which also, just throwing this out there, because that is another thing that like has been in my algorithm is the conversation. I saw like a debate between Wes Huff and other people and Adam Abke, and they were like the biggest ones in the conversation. I think so. And one of the conversations that Aaron Abke. One of the things he brought up was he was like, "Hey, animal sacrifice is not something that we were meant to do, kind of a thing, and like we shouldn't do it, and actually we shouldn't even be eating animals." And I'm obviously not doing the argument a lot of justice, which also that turns into like, but wait a second, if we're not supposed to do animal sacrifices, Jesus became the big sacrifice at the end. So if sacrifice didn't forgive sins, then why did Jesus have to sacrifice? Whatever. But anyways, so it's just interesting that in this chapter, I don't know, this is a side note, this is totally off topic, but Abraham was like, "All right, let's eat this calf." And God was like, "All right, let's eat some calf." I mean, if you remember earlier on, right after the flood, God changes mankind's entire relationship with animals. Where before then, they were only eating of the plants.
Yeah, but didn't he say,
and afterwards,
they will fear you?
Yeah, no, he said they will fear you, but I was like, I will give to you animals for food.
Did it say for food?
Yeah, I'll go back just to,
Yeah, let's go back. I just want to, I know this is totally off topic, but it's just a moment where I was like, oh, wait.
Okay, enable, of course. Yeah, Genesis chapter 9. And after the flood, and God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. The fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth and upon every bird of the heavens, upon everything that creeps on the ground, and all the fish of the sea. into your hand they are delivered. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. And,
it does say food.
And as I gave you the green plants, I give you everything. But you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is, its blood.
Its blood, yeah.
So that's what he said. Yeah.
Interesting.
But I think when it comes to sacrifice, sacrifice is like circumcision, right? It's a symbol representing something that is now obsolete.
Well, I do agree that it's obsolete. I think it was more like, hey, something has to pay the price for in terms of justice. So we were going, this thing is going to pay the price for my sins. And also, I'm giving up a thing that is like a good to me.
I think this is probably helpful in our conversation in the last podcast. But so the reason why there's a negative thing about circumcision, especially like from Paul, is like, well, why would you go and live under rule? Like if you get circumcision for cultural reasons, that's one thing. But the intent behind circumcision is about following law. It doesn't make sense. It makes just as little sense as saying, well, I believe in Christ, but I'm going to still go and sacrifice my goat to God, right? It doesn't make sense. It's just, why would you do that? Like maybe culturally you could probably make a argument, but if you're doing it for any purpose in terms of following a law or being right with God, it is not right. It is not that relationship, that type of covenant is no longer, it's obsolete with Christ.
Well, that's why, so remember, I'm also coming from the perspective of like, hey, from what I understand of the covenant so far, I don't see anything that he's asking besides circumcision. I don't see anything that they're asking for that it's like, hey, what doesn't vibe with, following Jesus as Savior? And so, like, that's why maybe there are things to come. Maybe we're going to go through. I also think there's a conversation to be had about like the 10 Commandments versus Leviticus. You know what I mean? Like, it's like here's 10 Commandments from God, and then also here's a million rules. Like, and I'm very curious as to where the million rules came from, and so that I think is going to be a conversation too. About like, hey, what are the rules of this covenant? But yeah, so I don't know. I know that was like a quick sidetrack. I was like, wait a second.
Quick sidetrack.
Meat. And also, right after Noah, they said literally eat meat. So.
Yeah, but this exchange, I like it. I mean, I do like this exchange. And God is just, he literally sets up that this exchange would happen. He's like, should I hide from Adam? Should I hide from Abraham? No. All right, let me tell you what I'm going to do. And then after the men turned and leave, then just now it's just the one. So two of them leave, and one of them is in mind, which is the Lord. Abraham just asked him these questions.
What? Two of them left?
Yeah.
Where?
So the men turned from there and went towards Sodom, but Abraham still stood before the Lord.
So then I believe you that it's the angels, because from what I understand about Sodom and Gomorrah, the angels go and destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, basically.
Yes, those are the two.
Oh, and it's two angels that go?
I mean, just spoilers, but the first sentence in chapter 19 says, the two angels came to Sodom in the evening. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay, then I totally agree.
But they look like regular people. They look like men, right?
No, I know. I guess I'm just saying, like, I didn't see anything that was like it has to be angels, but I missed one that the two of the three left during this conversation, which is a little weird. If they're all God, if all three are just different pieces of God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, why would part of God leave?
Well, I don't think they're like pieces of God.
No, I'm saying now I understand why they're not. Like the text is telling me that they're not, and also the fact that in the next sentence, in the next chapter, it goes, "Hey, those two that just left, here's where they arrived to,"
exactly.
And it's also now calling them something else.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So this is, I do like that.
What, did I just fall out of a coconut tree? We exist.
I do
like
this.
Context.
And I like how, I don't know, Abraham is very squeamish when he comes down. I wish Abraham went down to one.
So let me ask you a question. I feel like this is gonna be the last like big question of this episode. So he didn't.
He didn't what?
So God, creates this conversation, and I think it's for the point to illustrate that God is like, I am not gonna abandon the righteous found amongst the wicked.
Yeah.
I think last episode you talked about like the wedding and those who are invited, and everyone can come to the wedding, but that doesn't mean everyone at the wedding is doing the right thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, like, I think that's why he set up this conversation with Abraham. Like a good teacher, you set your students up so that they can learn based on their own path of inquiry.
Yeah.
So same thing here. God is going like, let him figure it out. I'm going to tell him what I'm going to do. And he's going to ask questions and I'm going to answer his questions.
Yeah.
But now he's coming to the realization that like, okay, God is not going to abandon the righteous found amongst the wicked. Why you would think, as I read through it, I was like, cool, he's going to go all the way down to 1. That's just a weird path to get there. And he doesn't. Anything to take from that? I just think it's so interesting because you would think it would be, but Lord, what if even one life was in this place? Would you spare these places? Like you would think logically that'd be the last question.
The last thing he said was, verse 32. Oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak again, but this once. So he already phrased it like, this is my last time, so I'm not going to try again. I don't know if he was feeling the pressure, or if there was no pressure, but he was just nervous, right? If it's self-perceived. But he says, this is the last I'm going to speak. Suppose 10 are found, right? So at no point, like Abraham is the one who stops it there. And I think it's just because he felt uncomfortable. And I'm pretty sure if Abraham could have gotten God down to 1. I mean, obviously I don't think it would make any sense for him to get back to 0. It doesn't make any sense at all. But getting down to 1, I think that would be a full case of where we get down to. And I think God would have just been the same way. He'd have been like, for the sake of 1, I wouldn't do it.
I agree. I think we could fill in that blank too. But I'm just looking at it and going, like, so for example, if someone was like, hey, Ken, you got 5 questions. You know what I mean? You're like, okay, will you give me $5? Yes. Will you give me $10? Yes. Will you give me $15? You know what I mean? Like, exactly. I would start with like, will you give me $1 billion? Like, I would start at like, I
think that's just because of the relationship. Like, there is a level of reverence and deference there. But
I just look at it and I go like, hey, show God the respect of like, hey, I'm just gonna ask you this question, and if you have one more, you know what I mean? Like, you even say like, I'm okay, God, one more question, please forgive me. What if there was just one? I'd pass 10. So like, I get what you're saying. Maybe the only other thing that I can think of as to why it's not illustrated here is because maybe even Abraham was like, I get the picture. I don't need to ask if just one. Because as I get lower and lower, you just keep going, of course, of course. Yeah. So like, I think he's going like, maybe there's a sense of respect there of like, hey God, you've told me 5 times already in a row the type of God you are, and so I don't have to ask if one more. If there's only one, I know, and I think there's like a beauty in like or a trust.
Exactly. Now, on top of that, we don't know how many people actually lived in the city. So, I mean, at some point, Abraham could be thinking, well, surely there's at least 10 people in the entire city who are good, right? Because he's assuming that there are good people in that area, right? That why would he even ask? And
isn't Lot one of them?
Exactly, and his nephew's there. So, I mean, he's like, okay, if Lot's there, and then, Lot has some his own people.
I wonder if there's only 10 people in Lot's family.
Let me see. There was Lot, his wife. Because
maybe then Abraham got down to the number he cared about.
He had 2 daughters. That would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because both his daughters would be married. It's only 6 people, max, in Lot's little family. But remember, Abraham and Lot split. Lot split with his own servants, his own people. So I think Abraham's assuming like, all right, if there's at least 10, which means he's probably thinking there's probably 10 people in the whole city.
Oh, you think he's more like, hey, if I can guarantee you there's 10 people in this city that are good, it's not, hey, would you please, like, you wouldn't hurt these people. It's more like, hey, if I can guarantee you this many people.
Exactly. Like, if you can guarantee that much, then he thinks he's okay. So that's probably why he stops at 10. Because 10 is like the most, I think 10 is like, that's pretty much, like in his mind, it'll be pretty much guaranteed. Like, okay, at least Lot.
Well, especially, like you said, he knows, yes, exactly. He knows people over there. Hey, I know Lot. And the other restaurant is, God, what if there's 10?
Yeah, I mean, like, cities back then, I don't know how big they were. Let's say it was like 2,000 people in there.
Sure.
Maybe even 100 people, and half So he's like 50. I think 100 is probably way too small, to be honest, to be
Probably.
a city. So yeah,
I was about to say,
I think
how many people
percentage
live right
wise, he's like, he got pretty low. So maybe that's what he's thinking. That's probably why he stopped. And Abraham was pretty satisfied kind of with that at that point, that it wouldn't be destroyed. So, okay.
Interesting. Cool. So, well, now I know what happens at the beginning of the next chapter. So thanks for spoiling that. But, wow.
The first sentence. Interesting. The two angels. Oh, man, I was wrong. No, yeah.
It's such a casual chapter.
It really is.
It's just like, casual. Yeah, they came by. It even the way they described it in the heat of the day, like it's like it's a nice afternoon. You know what I mean? Like about noontime, and
they're on their way. He stops them. Hold on.
Can you imagine that relationship with God?
Yeah, man, that's crazy.
Like you could tell Abraham obviously still thinks very highly of God. It's not like, hey, you're my pal. You know, isn't bring him that low. But it is really cool that he's like, I don't know. They came to visit him.
Yeah,
they were able to have a conversation,
and he was able to actually show hospitality, right? Which was something awesome to do. Like that's amazing.
Yeah,
I like it.
It's pretty cool.
And at the same time, how do you know if there's not angels going around doing their business that you don't entertain? In fact, I think the New Testament even talks about that too, right?
Well, that's why I was listening to some podcast. Maybe the WAU podcast. You should listen, like and subscribe and whatever and blah blah blah. No, but yes.
That's Hebrews. You go ahead.
Well, I was I was listening to one podcast where they were talking about like some guy was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I met an angel, and the idea of like them kind of existing around us, and I think at the end of the day, the answer is, well, I don't know, but if they are, I shouldn't treat them any differently than I'm called to treat other human beings.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. So in Hebrews chapter 13, it says, let brotherly love continue. Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unaware. Right? Like, so just, show hospitality and kindness to everyone. You don't even know who could be an angel is going about doing God's business. Right? And you wouldn't know. Because, like I said before, they just look like regular people.
Yeah. No, that's definitely interesting. I mean, it's interesting in this scenario because at the beginning of the chapter, Abraham knows it's the Lord.
I think because of just the strange.
Because God's there.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, and just his level of familiarity with.
Yeah.
At this point, he's that old. He's been through a couple of these occurrences before.
Well, but that's why, he
probably got a little tingling feeling, and he's like, "Ooh," I don't know.
I do think it's interesting, and this is a conversation for another day. But I think the idea too of hey, so we have to, like you just said, what was the quote? It said, "Be hospitable to everybody."
Yeah,
basically,
just got rid of it.
It is.
Yeah, do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers.
Yeah, I mean, and the conversation about that and generosity and etc. I do think that it'd be a cool conversation to have on here one day about how far can you go in a way that's just both to the person that you're showing that towards and towards yourself, so that it's sustainable.
Yeah, exactly.
How long can I come to your house and stay before you kick me out? Don't smile.
I don't know. So a lot of people's stays are very short-lived when it comes to me sometimes.
No.
How long could you say?
She wouldn't let you kick me out. I'd be there for a while.
I don't know.
Not because of you, but because of your wife.
It would have to, honestly, it would have to become a problem, right? Like if for some reason. Abraham is an old man. He's a rich man. He probably done a lot of negotiating in his time with these random Canaanite kings. I said 50, but what if 5 of them are not up to par?
I know you said $9.99, but what about 8?
Let's haggle.